And a very happy Friday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show, live from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Mr. Randy Wang's downstairs.
John, do we have a gem for you? And this comes to us courtesy of our friend Daniel Gus, who was watching today's LA City Council meeting and noticed something interesting when Imelda Padilla, this Imelda Padilla,
the neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it,
decided that she had something to say during a presentation honoring a local high school.
Councilmember Rodriguez, we've got a member on the queue. Councilmember Padilla.
Of course I'm on the queue for this one. Go Spartans. To all of the youth who are here, I am Councilmember Imelda Padilla. Right.
Do you not know your own name?
Whoa.
To all of the youth who are here, I am Councilmember Imelda Padilla. Right next to Ms. Rodriguez. So I'm your neighbors.
Okay, this is not the first time she's done this. Wasn't she honoring a guy at one of the hearings whose name was Elton Ferry? But because she was thinking of Elton Ferry, she said Elton John?
Oh, I think I have the clip right here. Wow, it's a good thing I have this folder.
The famous, the epic, also kind of a community leader, Elton Ferry. No need to look.
Gee, if the guy's name was Ferry and she accidentally called him Elton John, I wonder why.
Broken windy theory.
And of course, Imelda Padilla famously, when she first joined the city council, couldn't remember the Pledge of Allegiance. Shall we rise, Johnny?
All rise.
Mr. President, today's Tuesday. It's time for the flag salute.
Wonderful. If everyone could please rise for the flag salute. Councilwoman Padilla, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
to the republic for which
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice
and justice for all. Great, thank you.
She gets paid $220,000 a year, and she has the IQ of a box of rocks.
Street pavements that are cooler.
I don't think it would be this bad if Balky from Perfect Strangers was put on the city council.
those who are protesting want to get louder. They want to get more violent.
Every time she opens her mouth, it's like watching a drunk man drive down an icy road.
Of course, I'm on the queue for this one. Go Spartans. To all of the youth who are here, I'm Councilmember Imelda Padilla. I'm right next to Ms. Rodriguez. So I'm your neighbors.
This woman is a graduate from UC Berkeley and has a master's degree.
The neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it.
And she's one of the least crazy members on the city council.
I think my master's degree just got devalued in the last 4 minutes. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Well, it was Tom Steyer, the candidate for governor, who is now the top performing Democrat in the race, who put out a tweet just before showtime today about the fires in Los Angeles that was totally outrageous. Listen to this tweet. It dropped at 11:52 a.m. Pacific, so 8 minutes before showtime. He said, quote, "The people of Altadena and Pacific Palisades paid a climate tax last year. They lost their homes. They didn't do the polluting, yet they paid the price. That is wrong. Polluters need to pay," end quote. I just about threw my phone out the window when I saw that. Okay, let's review some history here for a second, because I know it's easy to blame those fires on climate change and let everyone off the hook who actually was responsible. But we know, hasn't been proven in a court of law yet, but we know based on their own behavior and based on their own actions that it is highly likely that Southern California Edison started the fire in Altadena, correct?
That is what they have admitted in regulatory filings, and even though they won't say they did it, they offered out a fund to pay out the fire victims if they promise not to sue SoCal Edison.
Okay, why in the world would you do that unless you started the fire? And aren't there also videos of the ignition point that point to Southern California Edison equipment?
Yes, it was called a zombie tower, a transmission tower that was supposed to be deactivated, that was needed to be torn down about 30 years ago, that was just sitting there, that reactivated when a live wire hit it, which started the sparking, which looks like started the Eaton fire.
Okay, so that's Altadena. Let's move to Pacific Palisades here for a second, because there was an actual arrest that was made in regard to that fire, where you had a Looney Tunes Uber driver who had Trump derangement syndrome and who apparently was really upset that he couldn't get laid, who was arrested in connection with the start of that fire, correct?
Yes, that guy was arrested. That guy has been charged, but because of everything that has come out since, that case might not go all the way.
Okay, so he started the original fire, and then the fire reignited when the wind started on January the 1st. The fire that he started was being fought by LAFD. LAFD told their political leadership that the fire was not fully extinguished. However, the fire had spread to state land, and Gavin and company told the city to stay off their lawn. The city said, if we stay off your lawn, then the fire will not be fully extinguished. The city didn't want to fight with the state, so they backed down and they just left it the way it was, which is how it could reignite when the wind started. Correct?
That's what happened.
And then when the Pacific Palisades fire was raging, there was no water in the fire hydrants. There was no water in the reservoir. And that's not the fault of climate change. We also cut the budget of the LAFD so that the fire chief, before the fire started, said that if there was a tragic event, they would not be able to adequately respond to it because they didn't have the mechanics, they didn't have the equipment, they didn't have the personnel. And everything that the fire chief said and that Tracy Park said in that meeting in front of the fire board, the fire commission, turned out to be true. None of that was climate change. Yet now that we are months and months and months separated from the start of those fires, Tom Steyer is trying to rewrite history and make it seem like those fires are the fault of Chevron. In what sane world does anyone believe that?
Well, the one person who definitely believes that, who is right on the same page as Steyer with this, is Scott Wiener, who authored that bill that's going through the legislature that would allow us, the average citizen, to sue Chevron for the fire they didn't start.
It's just unbelievable. And this guy is the leading Democrat to be governor in California. He doesn't have a clue as to what happened, but he has very strong opinions about what should be done about it. This is nuts. And the fact that there is anyone out there in this state who's buying into this nonsense is beyond my ability to comprehend.
Well, I will say this. Every single reply on this tweet from Tom Steyer does not agree with his viewpoint.
But the polls are the polls. And if the election were today, I would say he's a coin flip away from advancing to the November ballot because he and Bianco were tied for number 2, right?
Yeah, I can't really explain that one except for the average California voter.
No, I don't know enough to give you any good information, but good luck finding someone who does.
But I am telling you, this is why this needs to be litigated in court. This is why the victims of the fire, it's so important for the victims of the fire to hold the city of Los Angeles responsible, to hold Southern California Edison responsible, and for, in terms of criminal trials, for that Uber driver to be held responsible. Because when you have a trial and you have to present evidence and you have to ask witnesses questions, you just can't go in and demagogue people like this. The judge will throw it out. Imagine if in the court hearing and Southern California Edison's on trial for the fire in Altadena, and they go, you know what? We think we should pay the victim $0. Even though it was our equipment that started the fire, we're going to take the position of the newly elected governor of the state of California and say that it's not our fault. It's climate change that's responsible for all of these homes burning down, and not equipment that we knew that was faulty that should have been taken down a long time ago. Because what happens is you let them all off the hook. You let Southern California Edison off the hook. You let that nutty Uber driver off the hook. You let the city of Los Angeles off the hook. The city of Los Angeles, who, by the way, doctored up the after-action fire report to make it look like they weren't as bad as they actually were. And you know who else they let off the hook is the insurance companies. Because if you say that there is a bad actor that was responsible for these fires, if you're State Farm, if you're the Fair Plan, if you are farmers, if you're travelers, why would you pay out on any of these claims if there's a responsible party? I wouldn't want to pay out on those claims, would you?
Well, even look at what SoCal Edison did recently. They are suing LA County because they say, well, yes, our equipment may have started the fire, but you failed to do emergency notifications, which is why a whole bunch of people weren't able to evacuate in time and they died.
And this is where, and we talk about strange bedfellows in politics, this is where you look at the insurance companies and you think, okay, these are great big right-wing companies because they're all about profits and capitalism and golf memberships at the fanciest golf clubs and high-end scotch and cigars and everything you think about when you think about corporate boardrooms at insurance companies. But in reality, they're in bed with the Greta Thunbergs of the world. Because if the Greta Thunberg worldview takes, then what they can charge you for premiums shoots through the roof, because the world's going to end in 10 years. And if the world's going to end in 10 years, then we know there's going to be a lot of storms in between.
Well, and that's one of the things that Ricardo Lara,
trailblazing is rarely comfortable, yo.
He actually gave to the insurance companies in his sustainable insurance strategy, allowing them to use their own private climate modeling to set rates without showing us the proof.
That's right. That's right. They don't have to show their work. If you're a 6th grade math student, you have to show your work or else you get dinged by the teacher. The red ink comes out. But if you take the Greta Thunberg model of climate change and you use it to jack everyone's rates up, you don't have to show your work. They just have to take your word for it. So it would allow the insurance companies to jack up your rates. And then it would also allow the insurance companies to say it's not their responsibility if your home burns down. It's the responsibility of John because he drives an SUV. That's the position that they're taking. Whether he knows it or not, by tweeting out the stupidity that he tweeted out earlier today, what Tom Steyer is doing is he is creating a world that the insurance companies could only dream of. Everything that they want and more would be given to them if this nut were to be elected. And you know who would take it in the teeth? California homeowners, California taxpayers, and specifically in the case of these two fires, the fire victims who have already been disrespected in every imaginable way. That's what he is advocating for. And what worries me is that Tom Steyer already has billions of dollars. He's a billionaire. He can spend whatever it takes to get himself elected. But if he then joins forces with the insurance companies because he's going to give them all of these sweetheart deals, this may be an unstoppable force. For someone, by the way, who regards himself as being consumer friendly, which is the funniest part of this whole thing.
You know, I just thought of something. If Wiener's bill passes where you can sue polluters for wildfires that they didn't start, technically, because Tom Steyer made his billions by investing in big oil and pollution causes, we could sue Tom Steyer for fires.
Well, I mean, let's just use this logic for a second. If you can sue someone that far removed from whatever the problem is, can you sue your grandparents if you get cancer? You know, you passed along some really bad genes, and now I'm sick. So I'm coming after you in the retirement home, old lady. It's just bonkers. But that's what he put out earlier today. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, whenever you hear Jimmy Buffett's dulcet tones on this program, you know it's Friday and you know the weekend is right around the corner. We don't do live shows on Saturday and Sunday, but if you want to listen, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. That could be the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You could download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. You can get our KABC app or the KSFO app. You can also get the KMJ Now app because we run a best of the Fix California Hour specifically for Fresno Saturdays at noon. So check that out on the big KMJ. But there are so many different ways if you really want to pretend that Saturday and Sunday are you can do that. In fact, you can pretend that Saturday and Sunday are, Gavin, Cecily, can you help me out here?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
I have different drops on the home computer.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Randy, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. Hey, look at this, everyone. The LA County Fair is back May 7th through the 31st. Don't miss the country's largest county fair and the best entertainment in Southern California. Tickets are on sale at lacountyfair.com, but right now, call in number 9 at 1-888-790-5222. That's 1-888-790-5222. Gets a pair of tickets to see War on Friday, May 9th, and of course, you get admission to the fair. Tickets furnished by the LA County Fair. Good luck dialing.
So we spent some time in the last segment talking about the insurance companies looking for a way to get off the hook for the fires in Altadena and Pacific Palisades, and Tom Steyer being an ally, albeit one that you wouldn't expect them to have. However, the insurance companies are hard at work here in California trying to figure out how to use technology to kick us all off our policies. And Randy, it looks like they are using AI too.
If you are getting a non-renewal notice, it may not have even been a human that made that decision. Gee, I wonder if Ricardo Lara allowed the insurance companies to do that as well.
I may be criticized and dragged through the mud for it and get my wig snatched, as the gay guys say.
For more, here is David Lazarus in KTLA 5.
For millions of Southern California homeowners, insurance is becoming harder to afford as rates soar.
Some are even being told their policies are no longer being reviewed by a person, but by an algorithm. KTLA's David Lazarus has details.
That's right, insurance adjusters. The robots are coming for your jobs.
And then the rest of us.
Well, it's not fair. It's not fair. None of it is fair, but I'm one guy. I can't do a whole lot besides pay the premium and say, thank you for another year, State Farm.
Talk about someone in a news story sounding totally defeated.
Well, it's like you. You're pleasantly surprised every single year they haven't dropped you.
They raised my auto insurance without an accident or a ticket 97% last time. And I called them and asked them why they were doing that. And they said there was some kind of computer error and my rates had been artificially low.
That sounds like a bunch of BS.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hit me again, please.
Yeah.
Meet Santa Clarita residents Paul and Cheryl, who asked that I only use their first names for privacy reasons. Like many Southern California homeowners, they've seen their insurance rates steadily climb over the years. When they moved into their current 2,900 square foot house in 2014, State Farm charged an annual premium of less than $1,200 for a policy with a $4,000 deductible. A decade later, that premium had jumped to more than $4,000.
Holy cow!
Quadrupled.
And then came the LA fires. Paul and Cheryl's premium soared to more than $6,000 this year, even though the couple raised their deductible to $16,000.
You might as well raise your deductible as high as you can because you're never going to be able to use that policy anyway.
No, this is a service that purely exists to satisfy your bank. You have to assume that it is an unusable service that you pay for.
And even though they improved fire safety by cutting back foliage and using fire-safe materials.
Here's Paul and Cheryl doing what they have to do, and they're not going to meet you halfway?
No discount at all.
No, they don't care, and that's something that Ricardo Lara could have put in his sustainable insurance strategy, but he didn't.
Trailblazing is rarely comfortable, yo.
Oh, no, I think the music over at DJ Kitty Glitters was too loud, so he didn't hear that part.
And that, he said, was due in large part to his insurance broker informing them that their policy is now overseen by AI, not a human underwriter.
They don't know me.
This way, there's nobody you can blame for denying you. It was the algorithm that did it.
No, and state government, by the way, was ahead of the curve on this. Because what does Gavin do when he knows he's going to come out with an unpopular decision? He gives it to an unelected board that he appoints. It's the California Public Utilities Commission. It's the parole board. It's something that is one step removed from him, where he puts these people on there to do these things. And when they do it, he goes, don't blame me. I didn't do it. Anyone blaming me is spreading fake news.
They don't know me. That personal touch is gone.
So they don't talk to the homeowner. They don't even need to spy on the house anymore with drones. The AI makes an educated guess about statistics and says, nope, we're dropping you. And by the way, AI is not as smart as everybody thinks. There was a whole report out how all the people asking Grok for medical information are getting bad information.
Uh-oh.
You included.
So Jake from State Farm is now Robo from State Farm.
Robo State Farm, right.
It's a challenging situation for millions of California homeowners. Now,
I love how every single story, when it's either about the FAIR Plan or it's about State Farm doing action after action after action to screw over ratepayers who've given them money for years and years and years. And what does Ricardo Lara do? Gives them an emergency rate increase without any hearing.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
Well, at some point, State Farm had to take the decision-making power away from the agents or take away any influence that the agents have, because the agents ultimately are in sales. And if they don't keep their customers happy, they lose out on the sale. Well, you know that they have a bias to keep that customer in the store, but AI doesn't care. So if you remove the salesperson from the decision-making process, then there's no one there to advocate for the homeowner.
It's a challenging situation for millions of California homeowners now experiencing huge spikes in annual insurance costs. State Farm, California's largest residential insurer, raised rates by an average 17% last year after paying more than $5 billion in fire-related claims. That followed
How much do they not pay out because they're still nickel and diming and slowing rolling everything they can?
Well, a lot of those disputes are still in court.
That followed an average 20% rate hike the year before. The company, like other insurers, cut back on writing new policies in recent years. State Farm declined to discuss a specific policyholder's situation when I contacted them about Paul and Cheryl's premiums soaring by 400% since 2014, despite a quadrupling of their deductible. But the company said in a statement.
By the way, this is the stuff that they're allowed to do, even in the situation where they claim they can't get rate increases fast enough. They quadrupled this couple's house, who have had 0 claims and 0 incidents, and tried to fireproof their home.
And this is one of these circumstances where going to the local news doesn't always help. We know if there's an encampment in your neighborhood or there's a problem with a pothole in a street. If it gets bad enough and you go to the local news and the local news embarrasses the local electeds, at some point they'll deal with it just because they don't want to deal with the problem anymore. With the insurance companies, they just say, we can't comment on specific policies, and they don't care if they get bad press. They just ignore it and continue doing what they're doing.
Well, what's supposed to happen in a state that has an entire Department of Insurance is that if you have an insurance company that is denying your claim, you have an insurance company that is giving you insane rates without any justification, you're supposed to be able to call Ricardo Lara's office, and they're supposed to be able to fight on your behalf. But of course, Ricardo Lara's not going to do that because he's bought and paid for by the insurance industry.
Absolutely.
When we talk to homeowners who are fire victims, and they go to the California Department of Insurance because they do not believe their insurance company is holding up their end of the bargain, the story that we get most often is that they can't get a call returned.
But the company said in a statement that while it understands how frustrating higher rates can be for homeowners, increasing wildfire risk and rising repair and rebuilding costs make higher premiums unavoidable.
It is extraordinary, but we are in an extraordinary market now in California. These are unprecedented times.
Amy Bach, executive director of the advocacy group United Policyholders, said insurers typically lump homeowners together in specific areas, even if a home like Paul and Cheryl's doesn't represent the same risk as nearby homes atop canyon ridges.
And that allows them to put surcharges.
There's a big difference between a home on a ridge and a home that's in a cul-de-sac that has no fire danger.
But you see, if you have someone who's a local who works for the insurance company, and you can make that argument to them, look, this is in an area that's relatively low in terms of fire risk. I'm not in a canyon. The guy can go, oh, okay, and then fix the problem. But if it's AI, you don't have the ability to make that argument and to physically show them.
And that allows them to put surcharges on the rate that are driving it up in that way.
Bach advised shopping around for better deals, bundling home and auto.
Wait, how do you shop around for better deals when it's either State Farm or the Fair Plan?
No, what you do is you hang on to whatever plan it is that you have and hope to God that they don't kick you off.
Bundling home and auto coverage and boosting deductibles to lower.
I don't like that either. Okay, so the way I save money is to give the company that's already screwing me over more of my money.
And boosting deductibles to lower premiums, although Paul and Cheryl show that that doesn't always work. For many people, especially seniors living on fixed incomes, higher insurance costs mean having to make hard choices. As Paul said he told his State Farm agent after their premium topped $6,000.
I got 5 grandkids. I said I wanted to take them to Disney World. I said, after I got your policy, the premium, had to pay it. I said, I told 3 of them they can't go. I can only take 2.
Well, you can take all 4 of them to Gator World.
He was kidding, but only sort of. David Lazarus, KTLA 5 News.
There you go. If you're wondering why your insurance company's dropping you, it's because the robot told them to.
Coming up next, we'll give you an update on illegal dumping in the city of Dumpy. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Al in Napa. Al, welcome.
Hi, John. Good morning. Good afternoon, rather. This is quickly about State Farm. I've been a friend of my State Farm agent here in Napa for 40 years, and I asked him when we had our big fires, and I asked him again when I had somebody run into my car, how is it determined if State Farm decides to get rid of you? Do you have say because you're the local, you know the fire zones here? He said no. In State Farm, be it auto or be it car or rather house, it all goes back to State Farm office in Bloomington, Normal, Illinois, and all they do is look at the probability on the AI charts. The locals have nothing to do with it anymore. That happened about 3 years ago now. And that's
so
that.
He's totally cut out of the process.
All he does is take money and write paperwork, I'm afraid. Yep.
Well, if you're in sales and you can't provide good service for your customers, how do you keep your customers? Whether they know it or not, what State Farm is doing is cutting him off at the knees.
And that's the same thing I understand that one of the other, I can't remember what the name of it is, but two other insurance companies do the same thing, that were the first of them to just start offloading everybody's houses out here. And it's stupid, but that's what it is. Now, I got a friend who at the church who is a young guy who's in all of the AI insurance programming management. It's called, I can't give the name, it would be a plug, but it's the newest thing for it. So that all the insurance companies can have their insurance policy systems automatically upgraded and written by that, both commercial, industrial, as well as residential and health now. And he said it's the going thing to try to reintegrate it with the very, very local conditions. Because he also lives right here in Napa, not far from the county line like I do. We're both about 4 miles from downtown Napa, west of downtown. So we are just within a half mile of where the big fire stopped 4 years ago, the Tubbs fire that left over the hills and came up Sonoma. So he loses insurance too. So he's positive of getting a new system there so that the insurance companies can have better access to better block-by-block localized history, not just probability, but actual history of what happens when the winds and what happens when. So they're trying to work on it to make it better, but I'm not sure if he hasn't had any contact with State Farm Insurance yet. He had contact with several smaller insurance groups, but not State Farm. And, of course, not Mr. Lara. Well, don't get me started on Lara. Anyway. So
all right. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. Here with an update on illegal dumping in the city of Dumpy, Mr. Randy Wang.
You know, this has really been an issue for the city of Dumpy. Excuse me.
The city of Dumpy is going to start taking illegal dumping a lot more seriously, including using license plate reading cameras to automatically fine illegal dumpers and doubling the dumping fees to $5,000. Let's see if this is going to make a difference. Here is ABC 7 in the Bay from the city of Dumpy.
All right, let's move now to some trash talk about the trash problem in Oakland. The city is frustrated with illegal dumping and trying out some new solutions. Oakland is doubling fines and sending out drones, hoping to keep the streets clean. ABC 7 Eyewitness News reporter Tim Johns spoke with frustrated neighbors and the city leaders trying to help.
In Noel Gaio's neighborhood.
I knew Noel Gaio was going to be in this piece.
Oh, like the sun rising in the east and setting in the west.
In Noel Gaio's neighborhood, illegally dumped trash is everywhere.
25,000 calls we received this year.
The lawn.
Wait, it's only April. They've received 25,000 calls for illegal dumping in less than 4 months.
Totally ridiculous.
The longtime Oakland City Council member says while illegal dumping has always been a problem, it's now a crisis.
But the reality is that we need to enforce the law.
And enforcing the law is exactly what the City Council intends to do. On Tuesday, they voted unanimously. If you dump anything illegally, the fine is now doubled to $5,000.
Oh, boy.
Why didn't they do this long ago?
It's a really good question.
And for the first time, those fines will be attached to the license plates of cars caught in the act.
Again, why haven't they done that? But that's brilliant. We already have the license plate reading cameras, and now they've got the drones in the sky, so you could catch these people in the act, and you go right to the license plate of the contractor from Fremont who's dumping in Dumpy.
Usually the government loves to hit us up for money, but for whatever reason, in this instance, they've been hesitant.
And for the first time, those fines will be attached to the license plates of cars caught in the act. Ricardo Vindiola works for the city and says this is long overdue.
How frustrating is it that you work very hard, you clean all this up, tomorrow, same thing?
Same thing. The same people throw away the garbage every day, same people. And, I have a lot of frustration.
You hear that frustration.
That is true. It is the same people doing this over and over and over again, usually contractors that don't want to go to the dump.
I bet you it's like 5 to 10 bad actors. And if you just find them a lot, they'll stop doing it.
You hear that frustration a lot in Oakland.
Whenever I walk, I always see trash everywhere.
Daniela Morales has lived in the town for 15 years. She knows there are problems here, but it's still home. For her, illegal dumping isn't just about the trash that's scattered on city streets. It's also about taking pride in where you live.
Whenever we're driving, we have to swerve in order not to damage our cars and stuff, and it's really sad.
In addition to the new $5,000 fine, the city council also took the first step in approving a new pilot program. It will use AI drone technology to track illegal dumping sites in real time. Restoring that lost sense of pride, Gayo says, one street at a time.
That if I catch you with the illegal dumping, we will cite you, we will arrest you, and you will have to pay a heavy fine.
Hopefully.
He's usually the only one making that argument, but Godspeed.